Boa noite, galera. Tudo beleza? Vamos nos sentando aqui. Tio Sam.
Boa noite, Micali. Boa noite, pessoal.
Pessoal, prazer enorme estar aqui com vocês. Eu sou o Mika, esse é o Tio Sam. E nós vamos trocar uma ideia muito legal hoje aqui sobre Pokémon GO, que acho que é um dos grandes exemplos aí da indústria, né, Tio Sam? Em termos de jogo em andamento, certo? Um jogo que conseguiu conquistar um espaço que raramente os jogos hoje conseguem, que é se manter vivo por muito tempo sendo relevante, certo? Então, nós vamos receber aqui no palco duas pessoas muito especiais, certamente muitos de vocês conhecem, e a partir desse momento, galera, nós vamos conversar em inglês aqui, tá legal? Porque nós temos um representante aqui de Pokémon GO que é de fora do país. Então, peço que vocês peguem os equipamentos que vocês devem ter recebido com um fonezinho aí, bota no ouvido, tá legal? A gente vai ter tradução simultânea. Obrigado ao tradutor, à tradutora simultânea, que vai fazer esse trabalho muito profissional aqui. Então, por favor, botem aí o fone que vamos chamar ao palco. Recebam com uma salva de palmas aqui o Alan e o ERIC ARAKI. Hi, guys. How are you doing tonight, first of all?
Excited.
Oh,
Go ahead.
no, very happy to be here. I love Brazil. I'm from Mexico, but I really feel at home every time I'm here. And thanks also to Eric, because he's our country manager here in Brazil, and he's doing such a great job that I just appear here and he does really all the hard work.
Great. I mean, to start with, Pokemon's huge. Mothers, fathers, grandfathers, sons, daughters, sisters, brothers, everyone plays or knows Pokemon. So, do you remember your first contact with the Pokemon franchise? Which game made you work or love this franchise? The first contact.
Well, to me, the first contact was, of course, it was funny because I was this little kid growing in Mexico City, and there was this magazine called Club Nintendo, which was very similar to the magazine that Eric used to work here in Brazil. And I remember very clearly, I was like 11 years old, and it was a very small article about something that was happening in Japan. And it was called Pocket Monsters. And it was only an image of a balloon of a Pikachu. I didn't know it was called Pikachu, but I saw this yellow thing floating. And I remember it immediately caught my attention. I was like, what is this? I need to know more. It's just a little article, but I want to know more. And internet was barely starting. I'm talking about like 1997, 98. And I asked my dad, like, hey, can we go to a cyber cafe? You know, maybe you had those in Brazil as well. Like, because not everyone had internet back then. And I spent a lot of hours in the afternoon with my dad just browsing, and I was literally printing like everything about Pokemon I could find. I printed it, I cut it, I made like some posters in my room, like, and the game wasn't even launched in Americas, right? I was really one of the first fans, because just by seeing this image of Pikachu in a small magazine, it really changed my life, like really. And I'm so excited that I'm able to hear so many years later, working with great people like Eric and our team at NIANTIC, and being able to, bring some of that excitement that we have new generations of Pokemon fans, Pokemon Go fans, and be able to, be part of these events and all of this content and everything that we are working on is just really special to me.
What about you, Eric? I have known you for a long time in the magazines. Yeah, very big fan, I might say.
Yeah, I have to say I was on the other side from Alan's experience. I was already working in magazines. I was working for Conrad at the time. That was the publisher for many of the great magazines in the early 20s and the early 2000s. And I remember like it was yesterday. I just finished one strategy for, I believe it was a Link to the Past for Legend of Zelda. And then Pablo Miyazawa came to me and said, "Hey, I have a mission for you. You did this incredible strategy for Legend of Zelda. Now you have to do the same thing for this." And it was Pokemon Yellow. So I thought, oh, cool. I didn't have any contact with the game before that. I had played casually the red version, but it didn't catch. And but then when I started playing this, I felt, wow, this is deep. It's not like you just have to catch Pokemon, you just don't have to rise them. It's not like collecting them all. It's much deep than that. You have types, you have affinities, you have all things to that. So it was, I always loved complex games. I always loved JRPGs and so on. And for me, that was, wow, this game is really deep. So what got me to the first game, to Pokemon Yellow, was how deep the game was. After that, I started playing and learning more about the game, and then I started watching the anime. I became a member of the Pokemon Club crew, and then after that, I became the editor. After working together with the team and creating many contents related to Pokemon, like I remember how we delved in everything we got our hands into, because despite the fact that the internet was still growing, it wasn't very it's not the same kind of information we find nowadays. It was very crude. You didn't find many things regarding some subjects, and Pokemon was one of that. And we had to go to like Liberdade and buy all the Japanese magazines like Korokoro and so on, to grab all the pieces of information to create this content for the magazines. And it was a great time. So yeah, I believe that's when something clicked. I started loving the franchise as it is, and seeing what it become all the way from the early 2000s until now is like an incredible thing. Seeing all the new generations, the cross generation, like the kids playing with the parents playing with their kids and so on. So yeah, it's a very powerful feeling and nostalgic.
Amazing. Do you guys remember the exactly time they fell in love with the franchise or respect Pokemon, start to respect?
Well, to me, it was, as I told, like love at first sight, really. But I remember when I read this magazine back in the day, I remember the editor said something like, "It's not likely that this game will ever be launched outside of Japan because the concept is very Japanese." That's what they say. Like, and it's crazy to think right now that there was any doubts that a game like Pokemon will be successful outside of Japan. But back then, it wasn't a guarantee, right? It was like one of many different JRPGs in the market. Many of those never come to other markets. So I was kind of disappointed that, yeah, maybe this is a game I will never get to play. But I remember, when the news came out that, yeah, the game is launching, and instead of red and green, is gonna be blue and green and red. And the magazine made this event, like launch event. And to join that event, you needed to, in the website, they had some Easter eggs. And if you found all of them, you got an invitation to the event. So I dropped everything I had to do. I collected that. I sent an email. I got in the event. And in the event, you got a chance to play the game. They gave you like a Game Boy and a game, like 30 minutes just to try it. And whoever caught the most Pokemon would win like some prize. And just the experience of playing that game for the first time, like I was a kid, but still I felt like a dream, a lifelong time dream came true, that I was able to actually finally play this game. I think it's a memory I cherish a lot. And I would say maybe that's the moment where I really fell in love with the franchise.
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't imagine that we would be actually hunting Pokemon in the streets. I mean, to this day, Pokemon Go is a very successful game since its launch. I remember when we were at Paulista, Avenida Paulista here in São Paulo, hunting Pokemon, universities hunting Pokemon, my building, Pokemon. Here, you can hunt Pokemon. So there's a big discussion regarding games in progress. Pokemon Go is a very good example of a very successful product game which was released and still to this day is getting new players and is maintaining its old players entertained. So what's the biggest challenge still nowadays, especially because we have a lot of games coming out? Yeah. So what's the biggest challenge in keeping Pokemon Go relevant as it is?
Well, I think even after all these years, I mean, Pokemon Go is going to turn 10 years next year. But even after all this time, there hasn't really been any other game that can do what Pokemon Go does, right? Like, just think of other game that can make an event in a park and draw thousands of players to play a video game in a park, right? Like, it doesn't happen outside of Pokemon Go. It's really unique. It was unique in 2016 and it's still unique to this day. And I think even after all this time, we have, I think, barely scratched the surface of the kind of experiences we can make. Because in 2016, we only had a mobile device and cellular connectivity and GPS. And over time, we're getting more and more technology, augmented reality, mixed reality, VR. So to me, the future is like open canvas, right? Right now, we play Pokemon Go as it is, but I imagine a future in 10 years, maybe 20 years. It's maybe going to be so integrated into smart glasses or other type of devices that's going to make it even like that promise we saw in the first trailer of Pokemon Go, right? Everyone in Times Square throwing Pokeballs at Mewtwo. That kind of emotion is still there, and there's still many ways that we can continue to tap on that, and that's what excites me so much about working here at Niantic and with Pokemon Go, because we have a really great team that is very, we are all fans, really fans. Michael Storanka is our senior director. He couldn't come here tonight, but he's like such an example of someone who, because he also started as a community member, he rose through the ranks and he brings this perspective of a real fan. And that same is true for Eric or myself or many others that work at Niantic. And I think it's a really interesting thing to have such a fan-focused company working on a game that is endeared by so many people. And and the fact that we're in LATAM trying to make things happen. A lot of things, for example, right now in Gamescom, we have an in-game event. And you can get a special Pikachu that is right now only available here.
And there are some goodies, yeah?
What?
I heard that there are some goodies.
Yeah, that we have like Team Go Rocket appearances are increased. You can trade Pokemon for reduced cost. You can catch Unknown G because, with Gamescom, we have a giant Team Rocket balloon outside. I don't know if you guys saw it, but 22 meters high, a really cool photo opportunity. We have this amazing stage with our this booth with our partners, Pokemon Company International. Like these kind of things, man, used to only happen in our dreams. I used to read those magazines, I look at these events, and it was like, man, when is that ever gonna happen in my, not only in my city, like my country, like my continent, right? And now it's happening, and I'm so excited that things have changed so much, and I can only imagine, it's only 10 years of Pokemon Go. Like I honestly think the best is still yet to come, and it's all of it is thanks to our fans, like people like you guys that show up at events, that stay tuned to whatever is happening in the game. That's the reason why we can keep bringing these experiences, and as long as we have that support, I think the sky's the limit.
Anything to add, Eric?
Yeah, sure. I also look, I since I come from the industry for like after looking at many other games and having been part of their releases and everything, I can say firmly that even if you have the best game possible, if you don't care for your community, if you don't bring great experience for your players, if you don't appear for everyone and being part in those big events and everything, your game stops being relevant. I really felt like this, especially back the time when I accepted this position. And the first thing I did was going to like knocking out doors, talking to agencies, talking to companies, talking to brands, and trying to see, wow, what we can get. And every single time when I talked to them, I heard the same thing, the same story, and it was, oh, Pokemon Go, wow, that's great. I remember I played this in 2016. It was like a fever. Everyone was playing this, but is this still alive? And I got heartbroken at that question because the game, of course, the game was alive. That was tens of millions of players active just in Brazil. How they are asking this kind of thing? But then I look at this at this situation and saw, oh wow, the game is being played by the players. The communities know the game, the players know the game, the niches know the game. But what about the general audience? They forgot about the game. So what we have to do to bring it back to everyone, and we started creating all those fantastic campaigns to bring it back to the, everyone starts talking about this again. So we started doing live events in Brazil, akin to what, as Alan was talking, akin to the ones that happen in the all over the world. We Brazilians have this underdog feeling that we always feel like an underdog because we as underdogs, because we see all those great events happening in Germany, in the US, in Japan, and then we think, oh, it will never happen here. Never. We are Brazilians. What are you talking about? And then you see events like this happening, like GAMESCOM happening, and all other huge events happening. And we wanted to do exactly this kind, offer our players this kind of experience, showing them, hey, we are here, and you can also enjoy exactly the same experience as in other countries, in your region, in your country, in your city, in your vicinity, with your friends. So that's exactly what we wanted to show. And whenever we did this, whenever we created those new events, new ways to promote the game, new ways to bring some, try to, click something in the players, we always think as, hey, what would make them mesmerize it? What would make them like say, wow, this is fantastic. I want to be part of this. And that's how we get to those different crazy things. We created like a real life gym and in an event where that was connected to the game. So if your team took down that gym, your team will show up in that gym in the real life. Also, we also created the statues, the same statues that were in Japan. No one else in the world could see them but Japan, and we created them. We were allowed to create them here in Brazil, and wow, they are here in our booth. You can be there, take photos with that. It's something amazing to bring to the players, and that's what we want to bring. Incredible experience, like the balloon, like the 22 meters balloon we have over there. The statues we're bringing here, bringing like the rockets for challenging players here. So we want to bring incredible experience, so everyone keeps talking about this and saying, wow, this is great. I want to be part of this.
Yeah, and Chusan, before you speak, let me just make a correction, guys. You're not hunting Pokemon. You are catching Pokemon.
Catching all.
Don't hunt Pokemon. You are catching. You are capturing, collecting Pokemon. All right? And Chusan, please.
No, I really appreciate this sign of respect for the Brazilian community, this kind of products, statue, and for the entire Latin America. I think we have a huge fans, and from right now, we're seeing a lot of movements from Pokemon. And this is really good. We're expecting high stuffs for the future. Well, there's something you guys want to add, make it in Pokemon Go for the future that didn't happen until now. And there is anything for a huge update for the future, any new phase for Pokemon Go that you can talk about?
But you mean like anything you would like to see in the game, or?
Yes.
Yeah, that you haven't achieved yet and you want to achieve.
Oh, there's so many things, man.
But futures also. Futures you want to add in the game.
Feature, yeah. I mean, as a fan myself, there's a bunch of things that, I've been playing these games since I was a kid, and when Pokemon Go launched, I was, hoping that there will be things like trading, right, or battling, and those things didn't really come until a couple of years after Pokemon Go launched. And if you look at Pokemon Go, how it was back then, and if you open it right now, you will realize it's like a completely different game. Like, we have added so much stuff. It's sometimes even hard for me to keep track. So yeah, the list is very long, but definitely there are many things that we're working on that I think we're gonna surprise trainers pretty soon.
Looking forward to it. Eric, something about the future you want to share? I mean, your vision, impressions.
It's always, when you have this, whenever you see a new game being released or announced from the Pokemon franchise, we always get so excited to see the new things that are happening there, and imagining how this will be in Pokemon Go, how this will be translated to Pokemon Go. But because there is the thing, we add a lot of things that are from the main series to the game, but they have to be, they have to make sense both for the Pico players and for the fans in general. Like, we had this in the original series, you have Cinderace, Charcadet that becomes either Cinderace or Armarouge, and in the game you have to defeat some types of Pokemon until you get one specific item that you turn them into one of the two versions, Charcadet into one of the two versions. And then we were thinking, wow, how this will be translated to Pico, to Pokemon Go. And that was amazing how when we saw this in the game, you have to defeat a given number of Pokemon in that specific types, so you can evolve it to the specific version. Was amazing. So or even other examples like, in the original games, you have to for Farfetch'd to become a Surfetch'd, you have to hit like 30 critical hits. You don't have critical hits in Pokemon Go, but you have like the Jogadas Excelentes, the excellent trolls, that are kinda the critical hit for the game. So you have to hit a given number of critical hit of Jogadas Excelentes to get your Farfetch'd in Surfetch'd. So it always is an incredible, exercise for your imagination to imagine how this will be translated to Pokemon Go and how it will be great for the players.
Nice. I think we can leave this question for the last one because it's a great one.
Yeah.
But I have another one for you guys, which is reinventing. Nowadays, I think Pokemon Go is a great example of, it's like a teaching, a lesson of a game that knows how to reinvent itself, especially nowadays. So what formula, what advice would you give, to developers, studios, or, to any people who wants to make a game and keep it rolling, being cool, being nice? How do you guys reinvent yourselves in your daily routine? What would you say to someone who would like to reinvent itself in a game or with any project?
I would say like just let your project grow and become what it becomes. Like not sometimes creators are very focused on the vision and they're like, if it doesn't end up going how I imagine it to be, it's a failure. And a lot of times, even Pokemon Go, like if you compare with the original vision where we are right now, it has reinvented itself, like you put it, because we have listened to feedback. We have a big community. A community is the most important thing you can have as a game because it's the one that is going to be your ambassadors, your spread the word of mouth. It's invaluable to help, and they're going to give you feedback. So my advice would be have a strong community, listen to them, and let your product become what it has to become, not what you know are focused on being, because it's like a plant. You will nurture it, let it grow, trim it here and there, but in the end, it's going to be what it has to be, right?
Nice. Anything you want to add? I have a great question for.
Before we finish, a quick question. You already worked with Pokemon TCG, a collaboration, Pokemon Go and Pokemon TCG. Can we expect a second collaboration in the future?
Well, that's a good one. We collaborate with the brand a lot, with the Pokemon brand. Even a couple of weeks ago, we had a collaboration with the anime, Pokemon Horizons, because we had some content in game that matched one of the latest episodes. So we are constantly working with TPCI. We're really close partners, and every time an opportunity like that appears, we are the first ones to raise a hand and see what we can do. We are partnered with a card game in a lot of ways. If you look at our booth, it's a half Pokemon Go and half card game. So there's nothing we can announce at this point, but absolutely, we would definitely love to repeat some of those collaborations. Like the one that you mentioned, it was so successful having the characters that we have in Pokemon Go in the cards. Some of them are still seeing play. So I think it's the sky's the limit, really, and I hope we can do more of that in the future.
Yes, for sure. The product won Toy of the Year in that year, so I think this is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, the collaboration is a very big part of Pokemon in general, because Pokemon is everywhere, in the cards, in the games, in the screen, or, whatever you name it. So I have one last topic that I think it's very important for us to discuss, which is a huge discussion nowadays about AI, artificial intelligence. How do you guys think that AI could help maybe Pokemon Go or the video games industry in general, all right? And how do you think it could work in a bad way? Because, there's this discussion. AI could be good or it could be bad, all right? What's your vision about it?
Well, I think that not just AI, but any technology can be good or bad, depending, like nuclear energy, right? It can be very good or it can destroy the world. So I think AI is just the latest one in a trend of technologies, and I think there's a lot of ways that we can use it. In Pokemon Go, I think there's some, we have doing some machine learning, which is a form of AI to improve a lot of ways that our game works. For example, to determine where the Pokemon appear. It's a small change, but one that benefits the players because, we can increase the number of Pokemon that appear depending on where the players are located and things like that. I think it's really exciting. I believe we're only scratching the surface of the things that we can do using this technology. And of course, there's always going to be people, using anything for different purposes. But I think as long as we stay true to our principles, which in Pokemon Go is exploration, real-life interaction, and physical exercise, I think there's a lot of ways that we can really leverage this technology in a positive way to make the Pokemon Go experience accessible to as many trainers. Because what we want, and we have been trying with all of these experiences, with launching the game in Brazilian Portuguese, in Latin American Spanish, with a regional pricing strategy that we started last year, is to really make this accessible to everyone. Like back in the day, you needed like a Game Boy, you needed a cartridge. There was a kind of a barrier of entry to try this. And I think with the new technologies, not just AI, but
Mobile,
mobile, like everything is opening up, like democratizing this experience. So even if in the 90s you couldn't play this, you can now see what you were missing out on by just downloading this free game and testing it out and living that fantasy of being in the Pokemon world, being a trainer and catching Pokemon with my friends, which is really exciting.
Amazing. Alan, Eric, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, and
Thank
guys,
you.
one last question before we end this conversation. If you had to make a game of a very famous franchise, what game would be? What franchise would be?
Oh, well, I don't know. Well, we already have the Pikmin, Monster Hunter, like we already have the break with the franchises. So I think any Nintendo franchise would be really sit at home with our games. But I would love to hear from you guys. Like, let us know, because that kind of feedback always starts some discussions that, who knows, maybe end up being in a real game.
Eric?
We always imagine how we could make different kind of games for many different franchises, and how it would look in the same gameplay as our games like Monster World now, or even Pokemon. And we always fantasize this. But yeah, the best way to answer this is, well, give what you guys think. Give the feedback to us. Who knows?
All right, guys, I think that wraps it up. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much here in the audience. And para as pessoas, Portuguese now, all right? Para as pessoas assistindo a transmissão ao vivo, obrigado por ter assistido. E nós vamos seguir com a programação aqui da Gamescom, tá legal? Você que está sintonizado aí no canal oficial da Gamescom Latam, você que está no Flow Games, obrigado pela sua audiência. Obrigado a todos vocês, galera, que estão aqui presentes, tá? Obrigado mesmo, tio Sam, prazer enorme estar aqui com você.
Agradeço demais, foi um prazer, pessoal.
Eric and Alan, thank you guys.
Muito obrigado!
Obrigado.